I must have the roles reversed a little bit? Because I can't seem to understand why anytime I ask a question to my professor during a lecture he's given, they give you a look like you stepped on his pet duck and he heard the last quack you'll ever hear from Norman. If you pay an institution to then sit in a classroom and you are going to tell me that, oh, well, you should be paying attention, maybe you know the answer, I'm going to get scoliosis. If I was learning to be a doctor and I asked you during surgery if I wanted to cut this because it looked like it shouldn't belong there and I wanted to know what happened and you didn't tell me, I'm going to just go find out for myself. I'm going to find someone, lay him down on the table, hey, you need surgery, and you can do it. And then it's going to be your fault. I just don't understand the rules when you're paying to be in a classroom and learn and they're like, you can't have your phone, you can't do anything. It's my fault if I don't pay attention. I was never a quiet child in school, which, shocker, I'm sure, but I spent a lot of time in the office because I was apparently too argumentative, which, valid, and I would distract other students. For instance, when I was taking forensic science, we were learning about how we can analyze glass that is shattered on the floor and learn the point of impact of an object that made the glass shatter. Because it would only shatter in a very specific way. So I would raise my hand and ask, well, why can't it be like this? Because to why? Well, you're clearly not reading the material or paying attention, and you're distracting my other students. Denise, your other students are worrying about how they're going to hide the fact from their parents that they had to go to Rite Aid yesterday and get a Plan B because they did the deed in the stockroom of the cafeteria last week. So, I think we're good. But anything I would say would just automatically get me a yellow slip to the office. Yeah, I couldn't single out just one thing to rant about today, so I'm going to give you a list of everything that triggered my fight or flight response just this morning. I don't understand traffic. I think it's a myth. I don't understand how that exists. There should be no stop and go. It should just drive. If there's an accident, drive around it. Salad dressing. I don't get why people want to put this slimy, oily substance that doesn't get absorbed by a leaf onto their plates. That's like putting peanut butter on a piece of cardboard and saying yum. Utilities. Why do we pay for water? If there was an option to go walk 5 miles with 2 buckets over my shoulder and pick up your water for free, and then city water was just luxury, that makes sense. But either you pay for city water or you go thirsty. Am I wrong? Listen, I'm all about giving respect to my elders. For to when they earn it. Growing up, you're taught, well, the older you are, the wiser you are. That is the biggest catfish I've ever been told in my entire life because having had worked in the food service and retail industry, I've gotten the wonderful pleasure of meeting people that know less than a common house ant. If I believe that my dog, who knows only 3 tricks, sit, stay, and lay down, is smarter than you, I will not be holding you in such a high regards. They also say, never judge a book by its cover. Why not? I'm right about 85% of the time, and I would much rather have to apologize to a small batch of people than be caught with my eggplant in hand and not know how to handle a situation. If you judge me and you get me wrong, that's okay. Now we get to start a journey to where it's gonna mostly shock you, but if you get me right, then I don't have to apologize for the mistakes that I make because you should already be expecting them. See, it's funny because this is a wine glass with coffee in it. I still do not understand the hype people put on their 21st birthdays when we all know everybody be drinking that funky smelling water well before you're 21. But honestly, pop off. My main problem is if you're gonna have a 21st birthday and it's a themed, princess themed, it's not it. There, you can choose from all the options. Princess themed. Okay. Like, we get it. We understand that you think you're all this and that. I brought you a jar. Thank you, Maddie. Golly gee, I sure do love it when people try to tell me that I take things too far, because what I hear is I took things far enough to prove my point. Since we're obviously not asking to borrow anyone's personal belongings anymore, I'm gonna assume that new rule goes both ways. And that $4,000 guitar framed on your wall that is signed by Post Malone, I believe, if I remember correctly, I all of a sudden need to use so I can take guitar lessons. I just really want that newfound skill and passion in my repertoire of abilities. So don't be coming at me sideways saying, that's not the same thing, I only borrowed a cup. What am I missing? It looks like exactly the same thing. Just how you needed something to drink out of, I needed something to play guitar with. I'm only abiding by that really old saying that everyone taught us in kindergarten. You remember? Treat others the way you have been treated. It's not my problem. You cannot taketh what was given out. And this is why I can't have roommates.
What are you doing?
Makeup, what are you doing?
Coffee. We should probably... Yeah.
Carter! What? Come here.
I need to pee. Are you serious? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. I thought I was gonna go over your head.
So lucky.
I'm sorry.
You got so lucky. I don't flick that one.
Why?
That's not the point.
It's a cat.
That's not the point.
I don't care.
Oh. So he flicks the wrong caps and misses. Not once but twice. I don't. No. No, no. No, no. No, 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 no. Finish. Oh, I should flip that one. Hmm?
Because the cat would have.
Yeah. You are making a mess everywhere. I'm well aware that my age group is typically branded as uneducated in the adulting world, simply due to the sole fact that we just haven't done it as long as y'all have. But unless you can give me a bullet point detailed explanation as to why adulting doesn't suck, I don't want to hear it. I recently just got my own apartment, which I'm very excited, sad, and anxious about. But there's a couple things that just don't sit right for me. And number one on today's stupid list is paying first and last rent. I kind of understand it because they want to protect themselves in the event that I don't pay rent. But then why did you do a full background and credit check? Meanwhile, I have to give you my banking statements, pay stubs, and everything to prove that I make the income. So I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. Number two on the stupid list is gonna be water and power. I'm zoned for LA Water and Power, which is great, but there's not another option. It's not like the bougie LA Water and Power people, and then someone that has a bucket and goes to the well every day. That's just not even an option anymore these days. But how are you gonna tell me, because I've never had a utility in my name before, that I have to pay an additional $200 to live? That's like saying, hi, I've never met you before, and I don't think having water to live is a good enough motivation for you to pay your bill. So you have to pay this, otherwise you just won't have it. Like, what if I didn't have the money? And if I'm not supposed to understand any of these things, blink twice. If you give it a fair amount of thought, anytime someone chooses to project their opinions about you or suggest you live your life a certain way, it's just learning something new for the first time. Whether or not the initial reaction to that something is positive or negative, you got someone to stop worrying about themselves and spend their own time and energy worrying about you. You know, someone had to be first. Now, I'm not saying go out and kick puppies and litter on the ground because you don't believe in recycling, but don't worry about if you're accepted or not. You can't control whether someone accepts you. What you can control is your own mindset. So keep that in mind next time you feel nervous about going somewhere, looking a certain way, or doing something, because you're setting other people up for success later down the line. Oftentimes in relationships, people define steps as bases. Sydney, would you like to come over here so we can agree on these bases or steps? Would you have first base?
I would say first base is like a little make-out moment.
Like lips touching.
Lips touching.
Yeah, like, hands behind head or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Second
Naturally.
base.
I would say second base is like fondling of parts.
Right, like little moving some hands down some routes.
Yeah, like you're exploring.
You want to, exactly, okay, nothing too crazy. Third base.
Now third base is where it gets a little risky. I would say the third base is a little like glug glug 3000 moment.
Wait, third base isn't like all like.
No, that's fourth base. Fourth base is all in.
There's no fourth base.
Yes,
it's like baseball.
It is home plate.
It's literally baseball.
The home run is fourth base. It's like a little home plate moment. You made it all the way around. Back to where you started. Full circle moment.
Thoughts and comments, people. Maybe someone else can make this make sense, but how are professors allowed to dictate when you can and cannot be on your phone in a class that you have paid to be in? I'm not talking about high school, when you are forced to be tortured and you just, you graduate or you don't. But in college, trade school, whatever kind of class you paid to be in, that is your responsibility to pay attention so you pass or fail, because the instructor gets paid either way. How are they allowed to kick you out when you have gotten a text from your mother asking to pick up her postmenopausal prescription at the pharmacy when you get out of class? You know what we should talk about? Let's talk about why you have such a low rating on Rate My Professor. Actually, I think I already get it, but make it make sense. Because what is that inhibiting? And don't even start saying you're distracting other students, because I specifically sat in the back left of the class. This is left. So that I would not distract anyone. How does that work? I get it, it's your kingdom, but I bought the keys to it.
Do y'all have that one friend that's house is just always ridiculously clean for no reason? And you come over and you're like, hello, friend. Did you clean your place because I was coming over? And then they go, no, friend. It's actually very dirty. And you can't find a single speck of dust anywhere.
Is she talking about me?
Yes, Cannon. I'm talking about you. What do you think of our place? That's a terrifying thought.
It looks like where trash goes to die.
What?
Do you want me to lie? I think it looks amazing. I mean, off the floor of your place.
Yeah, as you should.
I would hold a party at your place.
Now it just sounds like I'm paying him to say that.
Well, what if I was lying the first time? What if I actually think your place is better than mine?
My place is not better than yours.
I know.
Oh, screw off.
I'm still really trying to wrap my head around why people are always telling me, hey, Cannon, you should save your money. Put it in a bank account. Don't touch it. why? Why? If it's going to sit there and not do anything, why can't I spend it? Unless you want to tell me how to invest, put interest on my money, turn a profit, I can get behind that. But until then, I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to need a safety net if I trip on a hose and break my nose. It's a cute thought. I'm just not in that tax bracket. If life chooses to challenge me with some type of fatal injury, I'm not going to argue. If I fall down a well, I will end up in hell. I'm not going to want to live through that. If a tornado strikes my house, turns me into a mouse, I will run into the first trap that I see. I appreciate the words, though they were not requested or needed. I think they're just meant for a different class of people. I actually figured it out. I solved the problem and I cracked the code. In order to get people to stop inserting themselves in situations and giving opinions where none were requested, all we need is to be allowed to retaliate with physical contact. If you think about it, right now people feel safe. They can say whatever they want and get away with it. But if I was legally allowed to make physical contact with someone's face, all of that stops. It goes away and it will never be said again. There's no more Karens. There's no more people that feel the need to tell me how it's 98 degrees outside and I shouldn't be wearing a hoodie when I never asked in the first place. It's such a simple solution that all we need to do is put it in place. My next goal, solving global warming. And I'll keep you guys updated on that. I love the people that are always trying to tell me it's too early to decorate for Halloween, and I cannot believe Starbucks is already selling pumpkin spice, are these same people putting up Christmas trees in October. Denise, let me break this down for you. If you or anyone else gets in the way of me sitting on my couch and getting to watch Marnie and Grandma Aggie defeat Calabar in the movie Halloween Town, I'm going to shove this entire bottle of pumpkin spice creamer so far up your rectum, you will be sneezing pumpkins. I'm not going to need to visit a pumpkin patch when I'm around you. I will devote my entire December to being your Grinch, to your winter white Christmas. I will overwater and poison your tree and coat each and every single one of your mistletoes in actual dog feces. But if you don't bug me, happy holidays. You know, people must seem to care a lot because they can never seem to stop sharing their opinions with me. So I went around and asked the fam what the objectives were, and the group consensus was that they had nothing but the best intentions for me, which is kind of confusing because what would have been in my best interest back in the day is if someone could have pulled out 20 years ago. Instead, I'm sitting here on my kitchen counter making a nice coffee. But I'll give it to them. The early years weren't bad. Sesame Street was lit. However, I cannot seem to help the feeling like the TV warranty that just expired and now everything is all of a sudden breaking down. So, unless y'all fixing to go back in time and, you know, a little certain Missy down a flight of stairs, I don't want to hear about it. I already know and I'm well versed in the subject matter. I really do vibe with the whole elf on the shelf mentality, but hear me out. I think this spooky season, we need to shift our focuses to the doll down the hall, as in an animatronic or a Chucky device that moves makes weird noises at different intervals, scaring the ever-living pumpkins out of children so they never come back to my house. And I'm left with me, myself, my pumpkin spice latte, and watching Hocus Pocus in peace. I'm very much trying to embrace and bring back that old type of scared from when I was growing up. Not the going to Not Scary Farm and Fright Fest, people jumping out saying boo, and you going, ah. The bedwetting, mentally scarring, traumatizing, not gonna close my eyes or fall asleep because I don't want to be taken by a demon type of scared. Don't know when or why that energy ever left, but I will very much be bringing it back this season. A pretty big pet peeve of mine is when people want to try to use stereotypical arguments to prove points during their discussions that just ends up completely invalidating their statement altogether. If you want to try to teach me about not wasting food, don't start your argument off with, there's children starving in Africa. There's children starving everywhere! Not just Africa. Your reasoning behind isolating only Africa is unknown to me. But until you can tell me the definitional difference between a continent and a country, I think I'm gonna skip this week's geography/life lesson presented by Mrs. Jordan. And I understand you're 62 now, you think you can just kind of say whatever you want, but wasn't your generation teaching mine? If you have nothing nice to say, you don't say anything at all? Because I remember that from the 2nd grade. Clearly, that must have been one of those do as I say, not as I do type of moments, because all I'm seeing is this, and I want to see this. There is nothing I love more than walking into an establishment that is stereotypically not meant for people of my sexual orientation, if you get where I'm coming from. It's the little side comments and the glances that are everything to me. So while you Google directions to hand to me for the nearest mall, I will be giving you my signed waiver to test drive the bike that I'm about to purchase. I do want to take the time to, however, thank you for trying to explain to me how a clutch operates and that there happens to be a front and rear brake. But it does seem to look like you're the one in need of assistance picking up your jaw from the floor after watching me execute multiple wheelies and ripping through your parking lot. It's the educational moments for me. But now that I know that this is the bike that I will be paying cash for, I will be going to buy it elsewhere. But don't worry, I'll still let you service it every once in a while. I'm not a monster. Hey buddy, I'm just letting you know that I'm gonna be stealing your content. Okay. Great, okay. Have y'all ever noticed that sometimes when you're wearing a black shirt, there seems to be that weird white stuff at the bottom? That's actually your deodorant, and the way to avoid that is you're gonna put your shirt on first, then the deodorant, and actually rub it into your armpits. It helps it set in place so that even when you're sweating, it doesn't run down to the bottom. It's kind of weird that not a lot of people know this, but coffee beans are actually seeds. We just call them beans because they look like legumes. If you want your animals to start feeling more a part of the family, talk to them every once in a while. They may not understand what you're saying, but they'll appreciate it. Hey buddy, I hope you're having a good day. Let me know if you need anything. He feels included now. So Bella, I feel like I did pretty good. Did y'all pick up on how all of a sudden it became socially unacceptable to deviate from the generic standard? You're not allowed to just wake up one morning and say, you know what? I'm gonna go see a movie by myself. Because if people see you alone, they're gonna think you're isolated and there's something wrong with you. Not true. I just didn't want to have to worry about entertaining someone after the film was over because my social battery happens to be drained. The same way if you're sad about anything, people automatically think, you have depression. No, Jeff, my dog fell in a wood chipper and I'm upset that he is no longer with us. How would you handle the situation? You would shrug it off and get a new one? I think you're a sociopath. I think you should see a doctor. The same way you never asked for my opinion, I never wanted yours. You should be more worried and concerned about yourself because from where I'm standing, you need more professional help than me. I find it kind of funny when brands want to put the family or sharing size labels on food that is meant for me, myself, and I, as if someone else's hand is going to be in my bag of chips. The audacity. Same way restaurants give you multiple forks like your meal is supposed to be split between you and someone else. I love it when people say, well, sharing is caring, but I don't care. I never signed up to share or care, and I know I need to see the optometrist about my eyes, but I'm pretty sure I never saw anywhere on the receipt where it said Nicholas for my chicken tenders and smiley fries. So, unless you're ready to be carted away by the wambulance, I don't suggest reaching for food that is on my plate. You want to learn how to lose a friend in 10 days? I'll show you how to do it in 1. Don't touch my food. So I kind of have a bone to pick or a knife to throw, as some may say, at the customer service industry, but maybe y'all can help me understand where I'm a little confused. Why is it our job to make the customer happy, right? Stay with me. You have Sydney, her family for coming in to dine with us because they don't want to cook. They want family time and they like the food. Okay, awesome. But when does my happiness start? Right? Like, when do I start to feel joy? Because I don't know who started saying, oh, the customer's always right, but that was the fakest thing I've ever been told in my entire life. I've yet to meet a customer that was right and knew the difference between a regular potato and a sweet potato. But I would love to find one. I would love to meet one, and I would welcome them with the most gracious of hellos. But until then, I just think we have the roles a little reversed. I think the narrative is kind of backwards, and I'm just confused.